still following it out. So Toastmaster Satish Menon is attempting a project called Persuasive Speaking under the Pathway Presentation Mastery, Level 3, Project 1. So the title is Speaking to Convince. Speaking to Convince, Distinguished Toastmaster Satish Menon. Distinguished Toastmaster Satish Menon, speaking.
For all those of you who have read the book, The Godfather, or watched the movie, there is a line in that movie and the book which says, "We will make him an offer he cannot refuse." Now that is, I would put, the most concise form of influence. To basically tell somebody that you have to do something, otherwise you know what the consequences are. But what is said in the Godfather novel stays in the novel. It doesn't always work in real life. In real life, since the time we've all grown up, we've all had to go through multiple levels of persuasion to get things done. When we were young kids, when we wanted something and our parents wouldn't give it to us, most of us would cry, we would throw a tantrum till the time we got something that we wanted, especially if it was toys or books. Now that is also a form of persuasion, because you are persuading somebody to get you what you want by incessant action, which will include crying, not talking, not having food. Turn the story aside, other way, to our parents. If they wanted us to do something, they would also kind of sometimes plead with us, sometimes coax, sometimes use the stick, or sometimes not speak to us. But those are all forms of persuasion to get us to do something. And in most cases, it worked. Other form was what a lot of our parents would have done, is to lead by example. So if they wanted us to study during the exams and we didn't want to study, we wanted to watch the match which is coming on TV, they would ensure that they also don't watch the television so that we can study. So that was like persuading by example, to say, look, we are also not watching it, now you better study. And those were the kind of examples which we grew up with, to say how to persuade to get something done. In school, most teachers didn't have to persuade us to kind of study. Right? We knew that we had to study. We knew that we had to get good marks. But yes, persuasion was there when we had to kind of study subjects which we were not good at or we did not have a liking for. So that kind of persuasion, again, some teachers will used to use the stick. Some would use other disciplinary methods. But most of them would help us develop an interest in that subject by telling us how we can make the subject more interesting, how to kind of teach it in a manner which we would pick it up and it becomes very easy for us to understand. So that also was a form of persuasion, persuading you to take up something which you are not good at. As we moved through life and got into college, if we went into a subject that we did not like some of us did, we had to persuade ourselves to kind of develop a liking for that subject. Especially 20, 30 years back, we didn't have the option to choose or change careers as quickly as people do it today. So the only way we could do it is if you landed up studying a subject that you were not wanting to do but had to take it up because of parental pressure. The only way you could convince or influence yourself is to develop a liking for the subject. And when you developed a liking, it was like persuading yourself to say, let me study this because there's no other way for me right now. Once you got through that and you went into work, now work becomes a different kind of environment. There you have to work with different kind of people. You had bosses with you who were dictatorial. So they would use the Godfather kind of method to say, we'll make you an offer you can't refuse. So either you do it or you don't do it. So those were some kind of bosses. Some kind of bosses were very persuasive. They would say, can you see if you can do this? Okay. If you can do this, good. If you don't do this, we'll get somebody else to do it. But that's also a way of telling you that if you can't do it, you better look for another job. But they were not very direct. They would kind of tell it, see if you can do it. See if you can learn along the way. So that was also kind of a persuasive influence on you to say, persuading you to learn something. When you used to work in a team, there again, not every person is the same. So you had to use different kind of skills to work with people. Some people you could easily get along with. Some people you'll have to persuade. Now, persuasion could mean showing them by example what you can do. It could also mean, in some cases, subtly telling them that if they don't do this, they better look out for other options. And the third is doing it yourself or showing the rest of the team members how it can be done, so that a person who's not coming on board looks at the others and said, if they can do it, I can also do it. Persuasion comes in different manners, different methods. Okay, there is no single way to persuade anybody. I once remember that during my days in Mumbai, I was once caught. Some of us were caught by the cops for loitering out late at night at 2 or 2:30 in the morning. And the only way we could get out of that situation is by persuading the cops to let you go. But how could you do that? There was a different kind of persuasion there. You speak the local language. So you speak the local language, you speak to their interest, and then they let you go. So that's also kind of influence. So persuasion doesn't mean that always you have to kind of persuade somebody. Persuasion can come in different styles. Even an authoritative style could be a persuasion because you speak from a power of authority. Leading by example is another kind of persuasion because you're showing people that this is how it can be done, and so they follow you. Getting people to work through consensus, making them learn something, telling them know that it's okay to make mistakes and learn in that process is also a form of persuasion. Building an interest in somebody to do something, if that person is not interested to do it, but telling that person to take an interest in it, seeing how it benefits you, making that subject or that particular work easy for that person by giving the right support, that's also a form of persuasion. So everything in life, you have to, whenever any conversation you're having with people, it's always about getting something done or letting somebody to agree on something. And that is where persuasion comes in. Believe me, when I'm giving the speech also, I'm persuading in a different kind of manner to say these are the different styles which are available. To get somebody to agree to your style is also a form of persuasion. Thank you, and back to you.
Back and positive approach. So next, I will call upon the Toastmaster Uma Natrajan to evaluate the DTM Satish Menon, sir.
Thank you, General Evaluator. First of all, let me congratulate DTM Satish Menon for having come back with a resurgence, as always. So, three things that I liked in his speech. The initial start, they always say you have to start by hooking the audience. So, when he mentioned about the book, The Godfather, and the statement, we'll make an offer he cannot refuse, that really hooked the audience. Because I remembered how a salesman does his pitch when he says, I'll make an offer and you can't refuse. So we are really hooked at that time to buy something. So just like that, this statement really hooked me and also captivated the audience, I should say. And then going on to explaining the different styles of persuasion, there were very good examples with which he made the audience understand. First, he gave the example of young kids when they cry, throwing a tantrum to the parents. And then how even the parents sometimes plead and coax the children to get them do something. The second was leading by example. When we want children not to watch TV, the parents also don't watch. So that was also a good way of persuasion. Then the number three was how we have to persuade ourselves sometimes. I remembered the example very much because in college I took a subject which I did not like and I had to continue and convince myself, yes, you have to go ahead and do it. So that is also a way of persuasion where you have to convince yourself to move ahead. So finally, we understood that there was no single way of persuasion. And there are different ways like ethos, logos, pathos, where you appeal to the emotions of people. Sometimes you use logic by telling the facts. And then there are different ways. So there is no one way to say that this is the way to persuade. So we got very good messages of persuasion. Just suggestion is There were very good hand gestures. Vocal variety can be a little better. Where I can give an example where the parent wanted to tell the child not to watch TV. Maybe a vocal variety can be improved. And the suggestion is to stand and speak so that we can see the speaker better. And just to challenge yourself, maybe you can give some situations where you can give it to the audience and ask them for their views. So that is my only suggestion. Otherwise, it was a wonderful speech where we got a lot of information about the different ways of persuasion. Wishing you all the very best, DTM man, Satish man. Over to you, G.